Hopelessly lost and dying of thirst, he drank his urine and collected bats so he could suck the blood from them, to survive another day in the unforgiving desert. This is the harrowing story of Mauro Prosperi. Find out what he was willing to do to survive, and why he is rightfully mentioned in this episode of Going Full Diehard. Mauro Prosperi, a 39-year-old former Olympic pentathlete, took on the 1994 Marathon des Sables, a grueling 6-day, 250 kilometers race through the Sahara, described as the toughest of its kind. The first 3 days of the competition was going exactly according to Mauro's plan, and he was performing extremely well. He was the first Italian to reach the next stage of the Marathon des Sables, proudly planting his flag on his tent every evening so his compatriots could gather. It was a tradition, a beacon of hope amid the grueling challenge. On the fourth day, the race's longest and most arduous stage, everything changed. The morning began with a strong wind. He had passed through 4 checkpoints when he entered the sand dunes, alone. The pacemakers had surged ahead, leaving him to navigate the shifting landscape solo. Then it struck. A sandstorm of unimaginable ferocity engulfed him. A yellow wall of sand swallowed his surroundings, blinding him, making it impossible to breathe. The sand lashed at his face like needles. For the first time, he understood the raw power of the desert. Wrapping a scarf around his face, he turned his back to the wind, moving to avoid being buried. Eventually, he found a sheltered spot and waited. The storm raged for 8 hours. By the time it subsided, darkness had fallen. He slept on the dunes, disappointed but determined to continue the next morning. At dawn, he woke to a transformed landscape. The storm had erased familiar markers. He had a map and compass, but without reference points, navigation was futile. He assumed others were in the same predicament and thought he would eventually find someone. But as hours passed, he saw no one. Realizing the severity of his situation, he urinated into a spare water bottle, recalling his grandfather's wartime stories. He drank sparingly from his remaining water, aware of its preciousness. Prepared with a knife, compass, sleeping bag, and dehydrated food, his primary concern was water. He rationed his movements, walking only during the cool hours of morning and evening, seeking shade during the day. His skin resisted sunburn, but the heat was relentless. On the second day, hope flickered when he heard a helicopter. He fired a flare, but the aircraft flew past, unseen. It was a devastating moment. The flares they had were too small, a lesson that future runners would learn from. He pressed on, convinced that rescue would come. Days later, he found a marabout, a Muslim shrine, offering temporary shelter but no signs of life. He planted his Italian flag atop the roof, hoping it would signal rescuers. He survived on bats, sucking their blood for sustenance. Despair hit when another aircraft missed him, due to another encroaching sandstorm. Convinced of impending death, he tried attempting suicide, slashing his wrists with a dull knife. But fate intervened. He survived the night, as his failing and dehydrated body caused the blood to clot too quickly. Rejuvenated by his failure to die, he saw the ordeal as a competition against himself. He resumed his journey. He nourished his broken body on raw snakes, lizards, and insects for his survival. After days of wandering, he reached a small oasis, drank cautiously for hours, and encountered a shepherd girl who led him to her camp. The women tended to him, offering goat's milk and shade. Soon, the police arrived, blindfolded him, and transported him to a military base, where they celebrated upon discovering his identity. He had wandered 291 kilometers off course into Algeria. 10 days after the ordeal began, he called his wife, joking about his funeral. Weighing just 45 kilograms, with damaged liver and eyes, but resilient kidneys, his recovery would take 2 years. Mauro Prosperi's incredible ordeal in the Sahara stands as a testament to human endurance and willpower, forever marking him as a man who, against all odds, conquered the desert. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more amazing videos where we get to find out more incredible and tough people to have ever walked the planet.